Good morning and good evening and good night wherever you are. This is 60 feet 6 inches.
Don't say good night so quick.
You're correct. Yeah.
Hang in there with us.
Hang in there with us. Commissioner is filling in for me for some reason this morning I just can't talk. How's it going, everybody? WHIT, Commish here. Episode 8, Ocho, ESPN, the Ocho.
Yeah, that's a great, completely off subject from 60 feet 6 inches, but ESPN Ocho's classic in August when they show that.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Some pretty funny stuff.
It's
gotten a little bizarre, though. I've seen more and more crazy stuff.
I have seen underwater croquet. Underwater croquet. Underwater croquet. Anyways, everybody, welcome to 60 feet 6 inches. We're past the season. We're past the postseason, actually. Today, it is actually October 31st. We're here just enjoying the offseason, wishing things were a little bit different. You got two teams in the World Series right now, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Houston Astros, where both the teams are hot. You got two trains on the same track just clashing. But before we jump into that, Commish, my favorite part of the show on this day in baseball history. Now, this one actually kind of is a little bit closer to my heart, everybody. This one takes us back all the way back to the dead ball and even to the modern era, which is anytime up to, everybody, write this down if you don't know. If you want to know baseball, write this down. Anytime up to 1900, anytime before that, it's called the dead ball era. And then after 1900 up to now, it's called the modern era. On this day in baseball history, October 31st, 1900. Anybody know who Ban Johnson is? Commish?
Nope.
Oh, my goodness. Everybody, you have homework before the next episode. You have to travel 60 feet and 62 inches to meet me there. Ban Johnson was the man who so we got to go all the way back. Okay, so Charles Comiskey, owner of the White Sox franchise, right?
Right.
It was in the family. After he died, his son took it, his son's wife, his son's daughter. So the team itself was in the family for over 60 years. Charles Comiskey was the owner of the team in St. Paul, okay? They only had the National League at the time, and National League President Nicholas Young was running Major League Baseball at the time, and they had what it was called the Western League. It was pretty much considered a minor league team, but there were different organizations by different owners. And Charles Comiskey was kind of intrigued by it, and he knew Ban Johnson because Ban Johnson was a reporter for the Cincinnati Gazette from like 1893 to around 1895, and he would interview players and managers and everything. Well, he knew Charles Comiskey, and he actually suggested that Comiskey move the team that he had bought from St. Paul into Chicago to become the White Stockings, ultimately becoming the White Sox. After Comiskey had mentioned to Ban Johnson to take over the Western League, Ban Johnson loved baseball. He loved the atmospheric part of it. He loved families bringing their kids. Back then, baseball players were considered, kind of ruffians. A lot of fathers didn't let their daughters date baseball players. If you found out you were a ball player, you probably had a little dirt under your fingernails or probably had a little bit of a past.
Well, I have a son that played a lot of baseball, and you played baseball.
Yeah.
They're a different breed. I don't know if I'd let my daughter date a baseball guy. Knowing that. But okay, so I can sort of get that. Okay, go ahead. Ban Johnson, yeah, I know. No, I had no idea who this guy is. But let's hear more.
Okay, back to it. So once Ban Johnson takes over the Western League under supervision of Comiskey, well, the Western League becomes a unanimously a huge hit. Ban Johnson wants to bring the family atmosphere back to the ballpark. He loves seeing families there. A lot of the players around that time probably a little bit more rough in the game where, maybe cussing or, maybe using more foul and obscene gestures that, ball players to where before it became the gentleman's game, So whenever he took over the league at that time, there was a feud going back in between Nicholas Young, the NL president, and then Ban Johnson, going back and forth. And this was in the paper. I mean, this was very well known. Okay, well, in 1900, on this day, during the feud that's going back and forth in between Nicholas Young, the NL president, and then Ban Johnson, the American League president, so much feud. Ban Johnson writes a letter saying, I'd like to pretty much just nip this thing in the bud. I mean, I've got teams that are here, and you got to keep in mind, he brought 6 teams to the Western League, the new American League. I mean, there were 6 teams that were in there competing. A lot of fans loved the atmosphere better than the National League. And then once it came around January of the next year, 1901, that's whenever Ban Johnson withdrew the Western League from the National Committee of Clubs and then formed the American League after that. So not only was he taking a step in literally separating the American League from other leagues, because the National League was by itself, and then you had the Western League, which was almost like an amateur league where they considered it not much play. Well, as it came around and then people started going to the games, the American League became part of baseball. So now you had 2 leagues, American League and then the National League. And then in 1903, you had the first ever World Series.
So from that Western League, what are some of the teams that came out of there?
Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
You had Baltimore Orioles. Well, at the time they were Browns.
But now what?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then you had the Boston Beaneaters, which became the Braves. Right.
Yep.
And then also New York was not a team at the time.
Okay.
You had one New York team, but they were not the Yankees at the time. And then you had the Boston Americans, which the Boston Americans were the ones that actually won the World Series between the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1903. That was the first World Series between the two leagues.
Gotcha.
And back then, another interesting fact is back then, World Series was not 7 games. It was 9.
Oh, wow.
So the Boston Americans took the Pirates 5 games to 3.
Okay.
Took it all the way to 8 games. And then you have, after that, pretty much history writes itself. But small little things like that are kind of like domino effects to where everything just goes how it goes, and then you're not really sure where it's going to go. I'm sure Ban Johnson was that kind of guy because he went to law school, in Ohio, didn't finish, decided to become a writer in sports, loved it so much, decided to do that. So he went out on a limb, and then he was the president of the American League until 1937. Yeah, until he was forced out. And he actually wanted to be, he was the kind of guy where he was a pioneer. He didn't want, Major League Baseball to have one commissioner. He didn't want just Kennesaw Mountain Landis. He wanted to be a commissioner also at the same time because, he had ambitions that he wanted to push the game. And it's so funny because now, back then you had so many opportunities to where you could, put your mark on certain things to where it had a big effect. Nowadays, because everything's almost pretty much set in stone, there's not really many changes you can make where you can put your mark on it, So something like that has completely changed the game, and to where 2022 we're still, doing that. Of course we got 7 games now, but it'd be pretty interesting to see what it would be like with 9 games. That'd be a lot, but pretty much, it'd seem like, what it would be. Anyways, this day in baseball history.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, very good, very good. So, Commish, wild card happened.
It did.
DS happened, and the championship series happened. This is game 3 today of the World Series between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Houston Astros. We're going to backtrack a little bit because we're going to cover, don't worry everybody, we're going to cover the World Series after it's over. Only because me personally, I like to enjoy it and then absorb it, take everything in, and then whenever I want to, in a sense, kind of regurgitate it back or retort what I'm saying, then we can go over it then. But we're going to talk about the little bit of the postseason, Commish.
Disappointing being a Braves fan.
We will get to that.
Okay.
Tell me what you thought about the biggest upset, and whether it doesn't matter AL or American League or National League. Me personally, the Yankees getting swept in the ALCS was...
That surprised you?
No, it didn't surprise me. They had no business being there to begin with. But can they hit the ball? I'm pretty sure Aaron Judge hit 63, right? 62.
Well, it seems like the Yankees sort of ran into the same thing that the Braves did. Momentum, and all of a sudden their hitting's gone, right? So
didn't even show up.
You think about it, and you think about the Dodgers too. I mean,
62. Thank you.
You win your division, you get a bye in the wild card week. Is that necessarily a good thing now?
No.
I don't know. So why don't we, I'm just throwing this out there. I think a 3-game series is ridiculously too small.
Wild card.
I'd like to see a wild card where everybody's participating and make it a 5-game series. And then you make the what's the next thing after that? Divisional. And you make that 7. And you go from 7 from there on.
7.
Yeah, I would. I mean, then you're going to get probably the better teams. Momentum's not going to stop for some teams. I think you saw what happened. The Braves bats went silent. Yankees bats went silent.
And maybe in 7 games.
The Mets,
And maybe in 7 games, if you don't have any momentum, maybe sometimes in 7 games you find a way to pick it back up and get it going. Maybe.
Well, and you saw, the Phillies had to fight their way into the playoffs. I mean, they were fighting to the last day.
Yeah.
And it just carried. The momentum carried. And it's sort of like what the Braves did last year, I think. They've sort of caught lightning in a bottle a little bit. And, I do have something a little bit off the edge here.
Oh, bring it, please.
So, what is this? And he's tearing it up, and I'm not a big fan. But what is this little get in the box thing that Bryce Harper's doing? His legs are together. He's grabbing his nuts. And he does the little shimmy. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
I mean, I'm talking like...
But you know what? It's working, so I guess keep doing it, right?
Both feet are together.
Yes.
Your inner thighs have to be touching. And
he's grabbed...
He's like Parkman from Major League 2. He does this little shimmy. And it drives the women crazy.
Yeah, that drives the ball out of the ballpark. But, they just have it going on. They have it going on. And, I think you look at the Astros, and they avoided what the Yankees and the Braves and the Mets and those teams did, but they're just so loaded.
The Yankees ran into a rookie named Jeremy Pena. Let me tell you something. I don't know if anybody else saw it, Commish. I'm sure you probably saw it, but any of our listeners take a peek at post-game interview between Carlos Correa and Jeremy Pena. Carlos Correa is actually great at commentating. I actually like him, but it's kind of ironic.
I did see that because he was in the studio and he was
yes. And he's interviewing the current starting shortstop for the Astros, who are actually in the playoffs now. They're in the World Series, and Correa went to Minnesota, and of course took that 1-year deal. He's going to opt out now, but got paid. But now he's not in the world. He's not in the playoffs, not in the World Series, and it's so funny that. So I thought that was kind of ironic. But Jeremy Pena is. I don't want to say that Houston is saying Correa who, but Pena is doing a swell job, pretty much filling in for Correa.
The Astros aren't going anywhere.
No, no.
So, and I know people are still upset with the cheating scandal. But
doesn't it put it does? But it does put some kind of a mark on a little.
Now it does. You think it does to this day? I mean, like this year's team.
Well, personally. This is me personally. Personally, it puts a mark on for the rest of their life. I love J.R. Richard. Nolan Ryan, I love you. Bagpipes, Bagwell, Biggio. Love you guys. Bergman.
So you don't like Altuve?
Don't tear my shirt off, man. I have tattoos.
Here's my thought process on all this. How many years ago was that?
5.
5 years ago. And I guarantee you, they weren't the only ones.
No,
right? It was Major League Baseball. There was stuff going on, but they got caught. It's almost a completely different team.
Oh, it's funny because there are only literally 5 players left on the team now that were there in 17. So you pretty much have a whole new roster.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I get it. it's an organization, okay, but they're solid. They're young. They're going to be around forever, And the Phillies were down 5-0 in that first game. Came back. Well, we're going to talk series later, you said. Mm-hmm. But, I just like what the Astros are doing on that side.
Yeah. The biggest surprise, which whenever you talking about during the whether it's the wild card or the DS, talking about the Seattle Mariners, how they were a big surprise. Unfortunately,
I called them. They almost pulled it off a little bit.
Yeah. Houston came in and pretty much showed them what was up.
Did.
But that's something, especially with Julio. Julio let me tell you something. He has completely put that face on that franchise now to where people in Seattle are getting excited again. And they had a good team.
There's a lot of good young stars across Major League Baseball. There's a lot of solid teams. I think it's going to help the sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at the National League. I mean, San Diego, the Dodgers, obviously the Braves, the Mets, what they did, and the Phillies, right? Those are some solid teams.
National League East. Goodness.
I mean, they've been dominating.
Yeah.
Can't say much for the National League Central.
Sorry.
But there is a lot of good young talent on those teams.
Speaking of National League Central, David Stearns, Milwaukee Brewers executive, resigned. Said he wanted to spend more time with his family. Oh. Said that he has literally worked his tail off, and he's been like a workhorse. I totally believe that. But, hot take right here, is he feeling a little bit from that pressure from letting Hader go, knowing that you really didn't get anything as far as short-term back? Maybe more long-term for Brewers fans, but what David Stearns, I mean, he's been there for a while.
He has. I mean, you would think – I mean, he's done a decent job with them. I mean, don't get me wrong. But then you got the iconic, St. Louis Cardinals in that division. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like they always step up and win that division.
Is it just that job maybe just could be just because you're all in as an executive? Could it just be that tiring?
Absolutely. A lot. I mean, especially in the National League, you saw what was going on with the Padres getting Soto and getting Hader, right? Mm-hmm. And you see what the Dodgers are doing, and now the Braves and what their long-term deals with all their young guys.
You got to compete.
And the Cardinals just being the Cardinals, right?
Jeez.
It's a lot of pressure. Lot.
And also the Cardinals will be with Nolan Arenado's presence until 2027.
I did see that.
Mm-hmm. At least. I think that's a good choice for him. I mean, that's a good place. St. Louis is good. You got good talent.
National League is loaded. Mm-hmm. Loaded. Mm-hmm. But you're also starting to see some young stars, like you said, in the American League coming out, like Seattle, Houston. I mean, Cleveland maybe. I mean, there's some younger guys there.
Yeah, whenever you have Tito as a manager and you have young guys like that, like I wasn't expecting I was expecting with Ramirez and Bieber in Cleveland to take them as far as they could. Josh Naylor did a great job. Yeah, absolutely. What I thought was particularly hilarious is whenever Josh Naylor's doing that walk-off and he's rounded second, and then after they lose, what's his name, that shortstop, that young shortstop or young outfielder, can't think of his name, Peraza or Oswald or something like that, did the same thing. But I thought that it's starting to get, whenever you have new teams in the playoffs that haven't been there in a while, it gives you a little bit of a kind of like a new feel to it.
So you being a baseball traditionalist, a lot of these new guys, a lot of Latin American guys, a lot of antics and stuff like that. I think it's good for baseball. I'm
more along the lines of let the kids play. I like that. Only because, let me tell you, this is without my ego being attached. If somebody hits a fastball that's 98 miles an hour right down the D, and he hits it, and he hits for a home run with exit velocity over 110, tip your hat and move on to the next batter. These are professional athletes that do this.
I'm gonna go against you. And I used to be a baseball traditionalist, right? I sort of like where the game is going. I think the play is unbelievable. The talent is unbelievable. And I think it just fuels the excitement a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
The fans are getting into it. The fans don't want to see, Ronald Acuna bat flip and do his thing.
But
if you're a Braves fan, you do.
That's where the game is at, though.
And I like that. Mm-hmm. So I think just hitting one out and tipping your hat, I think, baseball has, and I think they're doing a good job, had to make a move to make their sport more attractive.
Yeah.
Because they were losing, grassroots kids of not playing the game. And I think you're starting to see a little bit more kids because that's what they're attracted to. Change with the times a little bit. You
would absolutely.
Keep it traditional,
Yep.
The typical baseball stuff. Don't do anything crazy. But yeah, there's some new rule changes next year. I'm not
a big
sure
fan
about.
of pitch clock. I understand you want to speed the game up, but I may be a biased take because I have so many. I'm like, if you could baseball as me as a person, if you could take and create body parts in baseball, head, arms, I would be so different. It'd be so weird, only because like you're talking about, in a sense, traditional, and in a new sense, new wave. But I totally dig bat flips. I love it. Now, of course, I'm not, whenever Reese Hoskins hit that ball off of Spencer Strider and kind of threw it back and slammed it down, I was thinking,
that was a little much. The body slam with the bat.
He was coming up from
He
the
was
top
in the moment.
turnbuckle.
There's no doubt he was in the moment.
Now, I understand that. That I relate to, yes. And even the pitchers relate to that. They do. They don't want to get spat on if they know that their ball just got pummeled. But at the same time, okay, if this makes sense, Commish. In the moment, yes. In the moment, you're excited, everything. Once you, as you're circling around the bases, once you reach home plate, give it a high five your teammates.
Sure.
Once I get in the dugout, I'm good after that. I got my moment. And then once I get home that night, then I can do whatever. Now, it's tough for me to control it in that moment.
Hey, I'm okay with this too. And this was probably going to be a take that a lot of people don't approve of. You have something like a Reese Hoskins thing happen, right? Where's the old school of, okay, I'm going to buzz you next time you're up to bat? I'm gonna throw one a little high and tight, baby.
That's what I
mean, you don't want injuries, obviously. You don't want it to get dangerous because these guys are throwing like insanely.
Ain't trying to kill anybody.
You don't want to try to kill anybody.
But I'm gonna give you a little high chin music.
Yeah, buddy. Here you go.
Just let you know what station I'm playing. Say this is.
But I sort of see baseball's been exciting to me this year. I mean, it's been with all the new young talent across the league. I mean, even somebody like O'Neill Cruz, right? I mean, dude's like 6'7", and he just lets it fly from shortstop.
122 off the bat.
I mean, fielding though. Mm-hmm. When he'd bringing it.
99.
Yeah, from shortstop.
Yeah.
And he's playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, I think there is so much young talent now with every ball club. It's sort of cool to go to the ballpark.
Yeah, because you have teams that usually aren't not on the national TV, don't get a lot of regional coverage. And then you have somebody like O'Neill Cruz that comes up and puts them on the map again. Not saying that they weren't, because you had Key Brian Hayes, you had Garrett Cole in the past, you have Brian Reynolds in center field, you had a lot of players that have come through Frazier, that have come through Pittsburgh, that have been good, but as a team as a whole, they haven't been good in a while, But you're right. I mean, you have a lot of teams like the Orioles, perfect example. Team this year that almost actually
snuck their way in after losing some of their pieces.
Absolutely. But it's one of those times where baseball is getting to the point where you have a lot more youth in the game, and they're trying to kind of maybe build that fire up, and where you're
starting to see some old school pitching phenoms too. Like, Nolan Ryan was just all gas, right? Mm-hmm. Starting to see a little bit of that. Strider for the Braves.
Yeah.
I love watching him throw.
Nice, easy, bam.
I mean, just...
Yeah. Looking like Newt LaLoosh out there.
Well, the good Newt.
Yeah, exactly. Once he figured it out.
Military veteran wanting to get into the broadcasting industry? I'm Tim Nunn, director at Complete Game Broadcasting. GI Bill approved and helping veterans with the skills for a career change. Your broadcasting adventure can begin after our 9-week lifetime membership class. For more information, go to CompleteGameStudio.com or call me at 404-929-0523. Again, that's CompleteGameStudio.com, 404-929-0523.
But yeah, it's almost like, and I think you're going to see, I like the idea of no shift. You got to have 2 guys on each side. I like that. That'll be a little bit better for the offensive side a little bit. I think, but to take that the other way with the shift, it is crazy how the lost art of bunting is gone. Nobody sacrifices or bunts anymore. Dude, when they had the shifts on you like that, I don't care how slow you are.
Pull a canoe. Bunt it down third base. Get you a little double.
Yeah.
That's what I miss about the game. That's why I miss Juan Pierre so much. I miss Juan Pierre so much. Love that guy. Drag bunt, squeeze, even just bunt for singles, like where you have him in like Ray Durham too, where there's that little small space in between the pitcher's mound and second base and first. Like there's that small little sweet spot, and if you hit it just in between where it gets past the pitcher, and where the second baseman's going, you can beat that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's I do miss that so much, and I miss, like I've told you before, like home runs are one thing. Yes, it is.
It's become the game in the postseason.
It's a delight watching a grown man blister a ball, but I love seeing somebody hit like a triple in the gap, like a line drive that just goes for days, like either sliding triples or stand-up triples, stuff like that. I love that aspect of it.
And you're going to see less and less of that just because of the talent that's in the field, right?
Yep.
The speed and the arms and things like that. I mean, how many triples are you going to see against, Michael Harris and Ronald Acuna?
Good question.
But you will see an inside the Parker because somebody's not hustling to cover the backup on that. But that is what it is. Sorry.
I'm so glad that you just ushered that in.
Referring to the Phillies.
Talk about that.
Talking about the Phillies and Braves and a shot. Was that Real Muto that did that?
Oh, yeah, that was JT.
So a shot to deep center. Michael Harris just missed it. Comes off the wall, and it's like, Ronald, where are you? Where are you?
I saw an aerial view from the field where the press box is. I'm not. Let me see.
You can say it.
The ball itself, the way that the way that the walls are in left center and center field, they're cornered to where it's a triangle.
Yeah.
To where either whether it's Robbie, Ozuna, or Eddie in left, or whether it's Harrison in center and then Acuna or Grossman in right, anybody that's played there that has a conscious mind, not knowing, obviously, if you know that you shouldn't be focused in the postseason already, you should already have some kind of idea that if the ball is going to be hit out here, especially especially in Philadelphia, to where those walls are catty-cornered. I was waiting because I know for a fact that Michael Harris is a great defender. He got kind of snubbed in the Gold Glove, if you ask me. But we'll see what goes on next year in 2023. But anybody knows, even if Michael Harris isn't fully aware of that wall, he's seen that in the past because he said he's been at Braves games, watched Braves before, so he has seen a game where the Braves play in Philly. Anybody that knows, especially with Eric Young, he should be teaching those outfielders, which I'm sure he did. He probably made a mistake. If that ball is breaking out towards left center, know that it's going to hit the wall. Left fielder, you be ready if it hits on the left side because it's going to ricochet. And then same thing with right field. I saw the aerial view of Acuna stand there. Now, for the moment that ball gets hit and then Michael misses it, I see Acuna take like a half step.
Like he's not knowing what to do.
He doesn't know if he should. And then as the ball gets around, then he kind of trots over. But I will say this. The ball that was hit to Michael Harris should have not been the one picking the ball up to throw it home.
No, because he was going up against the wall trying to make the catch. Hey,
inexcusable.
It It is. And, I mean, that's part of baseball, right? I mean, you got to get rid of the mental mistakes.
Yeah, the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is that's who's going to win.
Some physical mistakes, they're going to happen. Physical is physical, but mental mistakes, uncalled for.
Now, this is
state of the art. That's old school traditional baseball. Learning backups, learning bunting, learning, those type of things. Fundamentals. It's sort of left the game a little bit.
Now,
but you'll see, I think you'll see that, I don't know. You'll see that turn around a little bit.
You think people are a little bit too hard on Acuna Jr.?
I think the expectations of what they were wanting him to be last year was a little bit hard, and I do think with the injury, that's mentally can be tough to come back from that.
I think that's what it was.
Because we've had issues with him not hustling out a base hit. A fly ball before that he thought wasn't going to be thought that was going to be caught, that type of thing.
Oh, yeah,
right?
we took him out.
But
Brian Sticker took him out of the game.
There's times when he's like unbelievable hustle. So I think it's just that consistency, and I think it is a lot with the injury for him. And you can sort of see it. And I think, to be honest, he missed out on the playoffs last year, right? So he missed out that excitement and everything like that. And there's just not that excitement during a 162-game season. And I thought you saw him sort of in a little bit of a lull. But he's fine. I wouldn't trade him.
No. I think
I love what we got going on.
I think the biggest thing is surrounding the Atlanta and the Philadelphia series is Atlanta fans are happy to be back. Expectations are definitely more because I was telling you what, it'd be great if we win 100. Maybe we'll win over 100.
We did.
101.
Sort of, yeah, you did.
And then I think people's expectations were up there. Now, the Atlanta fans had an idea thinking, this should be no problem. We should win, no big deal. And it's the Phillies. I mean, we had no trouble throughout the regular season. We should have no problem. As the series went along, I think that not only atop of the frustration of Max, Kyle winning, Strider, and now Charlie, the series wasn't working out the way that they thought, even as on paper, series sweep, no problem. Maybe lose a game against Weather or Nola. So Harris missing the ball, and then just for 2 seconds, looking at Acuna. Boom, like fire went off, like explosion, like Ron Burgundy eyes, fire, bam, just explosion. So they had that outlet to where all around Acuna Jr.'s not hustling, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. Now I saw the video, it doesn't seem like he's doing a lot of hustling. That's for sure. Now I wouldn't put that on him, but like I said, just to close this out on this topic,
I don't think you'll see that happen again in Philadelphia to him.
No,
it's like he learns at one time and then he's good.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, I know we're talking a lot of Braves, and you're.
Yeah, we're not trying to be so biased to here. Just
no. But I wanted to go to, if you don't mind, talk about the pitching staff. Right. Yeah. It was really inconsistent this year. In my opinion, Kyle Wright was the only consistent piece on that staff. Max Fried, I don't know if he's a number one. And I think there's a lot of times he goes into a game and he overthinks and tries to pitch around guys instead of going after them. If you're number one for a reason.
Yeah.
Because you're attacking and you're challenging and you're hitting your spots. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times he's trying to pitch around a lot of guys, I thought. And, Strider had the late injury in the season, sitting out. So that sort of, I think, took a little bit away from him. And Charlie, he has his moments. I don't know about the 1 year.
$20 million
game.
That man can't catch a break in the postseason. He's like a magnet for baseball.
Double-A, I am not going to question anything you do. No way.
Quote from Commish. Double-A is a genius. I do not question everything he says. I agree. I totally agree. Executive of the year, in my opinion.
I don't know about this year. You think?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the offseason. what's going to go down with Dansby.
And trust me, we will have everybody. We're going to have a podcast that covers all of off season. I mean, from down to your toes all the way up to your ears. We're going to cover all that for you.
So anyway, I got way off tangent. But the playoffs, yeah, it's been interesting seeing a lot of new teams, a lot of young talent.
Yeah, and like you were talking about, because you were the one that was telling me even at the beginning of the middle of the season near the All-Star break that Seattle was going to get hot, and it was really, especially all the off-season or mid-season trades that they did with Winkler and Eugenio Suarez and Castillo, and then locking him down to where he's going to be there, and then Robbie Ray and Julio. I mean, not bad ball club. Not just. It's just, this is how it is. Whenever you start to, if they want to say rebuild, I don't know if they are rebuilding.
So I like what the Braves went through.
Yeah, that will come. I mean, even during that time, during the lean years with Freddie and Cakes, whenever Nick Markakis was here, and who else am I thinking of? Gaddis. Like things like that. Those years happen, and then once you start getting close to that and you want it more and more, you're going to start winning because you have more of a winning tradition. You have a guy that's going to be hyped in Julio Rodriguez to where now people are going to come see him because he's like their new Griffey, I haven't had, a lot of guys since Ichiro.
So now that we're to the World Series, who do you think are the most disappointing teams?
With Philly and Houston left?
With the rest, the ones before them.
Disappointing, as in they didn't meet my expectations of what I thought they were going to do. Yankees.
Absolutely.
I think that's number one. Toronto.
Ooh.
Toronto got upset big time. The Mets.
Absolutely, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Mets might have to be way up there.
Maybe the Padres, too. Only because of the acquisitions that they got in the team that they were going into the postseason.
Yeah, but you know what? They took care of their nemesis, the Dodgers.
Okay, the Dodgers.
And I don't think anybody in San Diego was thinking, "Oh, we're going to win the World Series."
No.
So I don't consider them a disappointment. I think they have a lot to look forward to. I think when you talk about disappointment, it's almost like, okay, we're all in this year. If we don't do it this year, we might be in trouble.
Like the Astros. I think that's where the Astros are at.
Oh, you do?
Because they've been in 4 World Series the last 6 years.
Yeah, but I think they're going to win it.
Yes. This year, yes, they have to.
I think the Mets, they were all in.
And the Dodgers, 111 wins.
And the Dodgers.
Goodness gracious.
Where are these teams going to be next year? I think the Mets, unless they make moves, they're in trouble.
I think the Mets actually might go out and get Judge. You think he want to play in Queens instead of the Bronx?
I don't know.
Cohen's got some money, and he's willing to spend. But you're also losing DeGrom. DeGrom's opting out.
Right.
But are you going to re-sign him?
I think he's gone.
I
think he'd love to go to Atlanta, but I don't know what AA-'s magic can do.
I don't know either. You have in Toronto, like an upset, you had Vladdy Jr., you had Bo Bichette, you had Kevin Gausman, Kevin Gausman started the season 72 innings, didn't even give up a run. And then you had Alejandro Kirk, the catcher I loved him this year as a catcher. I thought he was great.
But I also think they'll be back, right?
Alex Manoah, great pitcher.
They'll be back.
Or Manoah itself, yeah.
Like the Braves, yeah, as a Braves fan, disappointed. But you know what? I think everything they went through, they'll be back.
Yeah.
They'll be back.
Yeah, once you get a little bit of taste of that, it's tough to try to stay away.
Phillies will be back.
Phillies will be back, yes. Mm-hmm.
I think some down teams, I think the Mets will be down. I think
because Mets are losing a couple guys.
I think the Dodgers will be the Dodgers, but I think their pitching staff is not the best, and that could hurt them. But they'll win games with their bats. Mm-hmm. I think I think the Padres are a better all around team than the Dodgers for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the Central, dude.
Goodness.
And then you go to the American League. I think I think, like you said, I think Toronto will be back. I think Seattle will be back.
Cleveland. If you have if you keep Bieber, keep Ramirez, because other than that, you don't have a lot of core players.
Maybe you're right. Maybe the Yankees and Astros are about ready to have a little fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, this is what's great about baseball.
Isn't it? I mean, this World Series itself has been the biggest surprise for me, only because you have two teams that literally, now maybe not for the Astros, because the Astros have pretty much been winning all year and then not losing a game, because we're right now October 31st, and the series is tied 1-1 right now. Now that's all we're going to talk about as far as the World Series, as far as it goes, because we're going to come and cover that as a whole because of the 7 games. But, I mean, the biggest surprise up leading to it is...
You mean the 5 games?
Yeah, 5 games, sorry. Excuse me. Jeez. Right.
I think they'll take it in 5.
But a lot of surprises throughout the postseason. Probably just teams that, like we were talking about, caught lightning in a bottle last year for the Atlanta Braves. A lot of teams that just taken that and just running with it. I mean, the Phillies are tough to stop. I mean, once I saw game 1 against the Padres where the Phillies, where Schwarber hit that home run off of Yu Darvish, I was thinking, oh my gosh.
Oh, the bomb.
Landed in freaking Santa Monica. Good gosh. I don't think I've heard or even seen. His hands were so quick on that ball. I mean,
just looking at Bryce Harper's reaction, and Bryce Harper's hit some bombs,
and he hit one himself that game too.
But nothing like that.
My goodness,
nothing like that. That's probably right up there with Solaire's in the World Series last year.
But I will say that last game against the Padres and the Phillies, excuse me. Whenever Harper hit that go-ahead home run, and then whenever Realmuto hit that home run in the extra innings, I was thinking, Phillies are real. They are legit.
They are.
And they
got some arms.
And you got Marsh out in center. That was a big boost for him. Mm-hmm. Alex Bowman's starting to show up and play a good third base. Bryson Stott, I mean, he's here to stay. Yeah, once Didi was out, I mean, they were gone. And then Segura, my goodness, great second baseman, has played great second baseman. Rhys Hoskins hasn't been great as far as defensive-wise, but he's shown up with his offense. And then, I mean, Schwarber, goodness.
I just think the landscape for Major League Baseball is in good shape.
Yeah, and, Dave Dombrowski is –
I mean, I love –
he's doing great in Philly right now.
Yeah, just with the young talent across the league, with, it's not – it's almost like – the popular thing in America is football, right? You see how mediocre the NFL is this year? It's just gross.
Yeah.
I mean, Buffalo and Kansas City. Can they just play now for all the marbles? So, yeah, I love it that there's it's like great balance, not mediocre balance.
Yep, exactly.
It's great balance. Mm-hmm. And with so much younger talent, you just know what you're going to get. So you're going to see baseball pick back up as far as.
And I feel like that executives are bringing up their top prospects.
Giving them a shot pretty quick.
Team control doesn't matter. They want them to have a shot because you see what. Well, I don't know why we keep coming back to this organization, but we always talk about the Atlanta Braves, and only because it seems like they just do things right. Doesn't matter that we have the outlets to them because we're in the city of Atlanta, but only because Alex Anthopoulos makes these moves and he takes these chances and it works out. And it's almost like he's like a father and he's got this big family of kids, and even though he's got one kid out that's young, but he knows he's ready, so he sends him out. And then Michael Harris, same thing with Strider. You do that, So, I mean, even bringing up Vaughn Grissom.
Yeah, at that time.
Atlanta Braves fans, if you exclusively listen to this podcast, which thank you for you do, but if Vaughn Grissom is starting at shortstop next year for the Atlanta Braves, we are in trouble. We have a big problem. He will not start shortstop. Vaughn Grissom is not ready. Trust me, we will go out and get somebody before we let Vaughn Grissom take over. Alex Anthopoulos is not going to let that happen. Trust me. Okay.
There you go.
Rant over.
Good.
I mean, what do you think, Commish? I mean, they're not going to let Dansby walk easily. He may walk, but they're not going to easily, right?
Not when you have, well, there's some great shortstops available, right? I think the Braves will get one of them.
Probably not Turner.
Probably not Turner. That'd be a little bit.
Carlos Correa? Probably not. Maybe. Maybe if he has a high AAV for maybe 2 years.
What about, what's his name? Gosh, Red Sox.
Ooh, hello, Xander Bogaerts.
Yes.
I like Xander Bogaerts.
So, I mean, there's a lot.
And he hits well, too.
There's a lot of solid ones. So, maybe you go as Xander, Bogaerts, and then bring in a headline starter like DeGrom.
Wow.
All of a sudden, there's your number one if he stays healthy. But usually when they leave the Mets, they're healthy.
Isn't that funny?
So there's your number one. And then all of a sudden, I love Frieden, number two. I just don't think he's number one right now. I don't know.
Well, the way that Kyle Wright pitched, I think Kyle Wright's your number two.
Not over Fried. I mean, that's one season.
Yeah, you're right.
Then you got Wright and Strider. And finish up with Charlie. Maybe Soroka makes a comeback. Oh, we've been talking about poor Mike. Anyway, we're getting off tangent again, talking about the Braves because we love our Atlanta Braves.
We do, and I think Bryce Elder has a future sometime too.
I don't know with the Atlanta staff if he does.
Ian Anderson, where art thou? Where art thou?
Where art thou? Packing his bags. Hey, I mean, he's a young dude too, though.
He is young. He's got plenty of time.
That's why it shocked me to see the Morton 1 year deal.
Maybe just more for solidification, maybe.
Yeah, more stability and
$20 million worth of it. Goodness.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal for him.
Charlie is. He said, I'm just a late 30s, just middle-aged MLB pitcher, just making $20 million per year. No big deal.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the offseason.
With
the MLBs.
Yeah, but we're coming down to it, Commish. Coming down in the slow down lane, about to sit in the rest area. But this postseason has been pretty much everything that it was hyped up to be. A lot of surprise. That's why I love this, baseball. But something's got to be done about. There has to be some kind of advantage for winning the division and not taking a 5-day rest.
Well, they thought that was an advantage, and I don't know if it is.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that we maybe send Robert Manfred a very strong.
But I don't think winning the division you should have to play in a little 3-game series either. I mean that's like you have 1 or 2 solid pitchers, you can win that gum thing. So. That's why I think it should be a 5-game. The wild card should be a 5-game.
Yeah. And
if you want to make the divisional 5-game too, that's fine.
What division is 5 games?
Well, I know, but I was thinking about making it 7. But
okay. Well, yeah.
But if everybody playing in a wild card 5-game, yeah, you can do a 5-game again.
Hey, let's change all the series to 9 games. How about that?
Let's not.
Yes, sir. You have John McGraw coming up.
That would not have been fun to see the Phillies whoop our butt 2 more times. But,
that would have been pretty ugly. That would have been pretty ugly. But you have the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies. This is no new thing for the Astros. They're just taking it as they come. It's almost like that Dusty expects them to be there every year, which I think that him being the manager has a lot to do with it because I love me some Dusty Baker. You also got a very monotone manager, and Rob. I mean, he's very calm. He's the calmest guy I've ever seen with a champagne bottle. I can tell you that. He's like, hey guys, did a good job. And that's it. And then everybody else is going nuts around it. But maybe he's the kind of person to where he kind of holds in all of his feelings and everything until it actually gets there. Like that Derek Jeter mentality. You don't win until you actually win. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be going along. Everybody, just hang on. We're not going to leave you on the leash on the back bumper. We're going to carry you with us, throughout the World Series, and we'll be here. And even during this offseason, it's going to be really exciting. We're going to talk about all kinds of baseball stuff, Commish. Going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to be getting kind of a little bit loosely, kind of unbuttoning our collar and everything, and going to talk about all fun stuff, baseball movies, baseball activities, fun baseball stuff. famous stadiums that you've been to, if you've ever been to Cooperstown, all kinds of fun stuff. So this is just, I'm just a kid in a candy store, man. And I love talking about it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And also, Commish, I've had listeners send me messages saying, hey, what is your intro music? What is your song? How often do you guys do this? Where can I get the intro song? Well, actually, everybody, the intro song is actually WHIT, me himself. It is my song. It's called The Line. It's on iTunes. Everybody can check it out in full. But the good thing was, everybody, is I didn't have to do any kind of copywriting, so I just used my own music for the intro, and it ended up working out.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes,
so
sir.
WHIT's got a little bit of musician in him,
sir.
too.
Yes, sir.
All
so
right.
everybody can check that out. And also, this episode and all of our episodes for 60 Feet 6 Inches is actually brought to you by Tri-Vitamins. Tri-Vitamins is a natural vitamin company where they sell bison heart, bison liver. It's all grass-fed, grass-finished. It is 100% the best heme iron you can even find in any kind of meat. Vitamins A, vitamins B, more vitamin B and A than you can find in any raw milk. Whether it's bison antler, bison liver, heart complex, all this stuff. Trivitamins.com. It's great. We're all on it. Even Commish is on it now. But yeah, we're coming up to it. World Series is about done. Commish, thanks for stopping by.
Anytime.
And we will talk to you guys in November. November baseball is upon us, everybody. This has been 60 Feet 6 Inches. Keep your grass green and your pants dirty. Good evening, everybody.